Shuangwen+Leading Actress+Rebirth Revenge+Smash Face+Farming Business+Koi+Easy Daily+Slow Rhythm. In his past life, Shen Yingxia was brutally framed by an outsider and bullied by his son-in-law, and was thrown to the village where he fell seriously ill and died. Rebirth Awakening, with the scumbag in separation, with the blessing of the koi baby, good luck exploded. Smash your face, how painful it is. Farming and doing business, getting rich and prosperous. Who said that an abandoned woman would cry and cry all day long, dying and living? Come and see how Shen Yingxia has achieved a double harvest in her career and love, living a prosperous life. Keywords of the novel. Koi abandoned wife. Great lucky Italy, today's Healy no pop-ups, koi abandoned wife. Great lucky Italy, today's Healy complete collection download, koi abandoned wife. Great lucky Italy, today's Healy latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Today's good luck, Healy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Today's good luck, Healy. The sunshine is brilliant, there are no clouds for thousands of miles, and birds are chirping and jumping on the branches. The residence of Tailcheng is about to carry his concubine in today, but the battle is so intense that it feels like he's going to marry the head of the family. Lanterns and colorful decorations were hung everywhere in the mansion, and the servants were all beaming with joy. There is only one place, cold and lonely, which is extremely contradictory to this festive scene. That's Tingzhu Xian, where Shen Yingxia, the female ruler of the Tai Luqing mansion, lives. In the dimly lit main room, Shen Yingxia held onto the bed railing and hoarsely called out, "Suzuki, Suzuki." Upon hearing the sound, the maid quickly approached and reached out to help, saying, "Your Majesty, are you still awake? Do you still have a headache? Wait a moment, I'll go and call the doctor to take a closer look at your Majesty." As she finished speaking, she was about to leave. "Wait, what's going on outside?" Shen Yingxia straightened up and grabbed Suzuki's sleeve. "Are you afraid you have forgotten? Today, the Lord is carrying my concubine." Suzuki hesitated as she looked at Shen Yingxia's face. Shen Yingxia looked around and said, "Isn't she locked up in Zhuangzi? Here, it's clearly Tingzhu Xian. Did she go back to the capital? But the furnishings in the house are exactly the same as 3 years ago. Is it Lu Yuer who is going to enter?" Shen Yingxia felt a slight headache. It's not just her. Yesterday, if it weren't for the Lord insisting on welcoming the outer room as a legitimate wife, how could the lady be so angry that she bumped into a pillar? Suzuki's voice choked up. Has she returned to her past? Shen Yingxia shook her head, trying to clear her mind. Suzuki quickly supported her and said, Njun, don't shake anymore. Njun has shed a lot of blood and has just scabbed. Will Njun lie down for a while longer? That's just a concubine. When we take care of ourselves and tidy her up, won't it be easy? Shen Yingxia struggled up. Now is not the time to lie down peacefully. At this moment, the soft and sticky doll's voice suddenly sounded. Today is good luck, it's appropriate to leave with peace. Shen Yingxia was a bit confused. Where did the milk doll come from? Suzuki, did you hear any sound? Ah. There's no sound at all. Suzuki suddenly remembered something with a frightened expression on her face. But what did the young lady hear? During the Dao dynasty, witchcraft was prevalent. People believe in witchcraft and have unwavering faith in the affairs of gods and ghosts. There are some great immortals in the folk who were originally ordinary farmers. After encountering major disasters or suffering from serious illnesses, they suddenly have supernatural powers and usually help others solve problems and treat illnesses. Suzuki thought to herself, isn't it that the young lady, like them, has a divine ability to hear things that ordinary people can't hear? Can only oneself hear it? This matter is too bizarre, and Shen Yingxia decided to keep it a secret before figuring it out. Help me get up and do my makeup. Here. Suzuki helped Shen Yingxia out of bed and sat on the dressing stool. Shen Yingxia looked at herself in the brass mirror. Although his face was a bit pale, it was difficult to conceal his stunning complexion. With a thick cloth tied to his head, even so, the dark red blood still seeped through his headscarf. In her past life, she humbled herself to the dust in order to save Zhao Junren's heart. He wanted the spring dew, so she braved the cold of the morning, holding a small bottle and collecting it day by day with her own hands. He wanted an inkstone made of purple gold stone deep in the mine, so she personally went to select the original stone with unique patterns and invited skilled craftsmen to carve it for him. But all of this is just in vain. The flower dew she personally picked was taken to bathe Lu Yuer. The high-quality inkstone she gave was casually thrown by him to distant relatives who came to the mansion to enjoy the autumn breeze. She asked herself, I didn't apologize to Zhao Junran at all, but I was humiliated and killed. The cone-shaped past is like a dream from last night. All love, hate, and unwillingness are like dewdrops twinkling on the leaves of the night. When the sun rose, all of this disappeared, only the dull pain in her chest reminded her not to be as foolish as before. Having received the favor of the gods and regained vitality, she must live a new life. This time, she doesn't want him anymore. Scum men and evil women, forever. Good and evil are rewarded, but she must keep her eyes wide open and take a good look. How long will they be able to recover? After dressing up properly, Shen Yingxia whispered, Go, flip out my treasure box. Here. Suzuki took orders and turned to search under the dressing cabinet. In no time, she retrieved the ebony treasure box. Shen Yingxia opened the treasure box and inside lay a round jade dew that was as smooth as sheep fat, with the character, Zhao, carved in the middle of the jade dew. This is a token passed down from generation to generation by the Zhao family, which has always been preserved by the head of the family. On the day of her wedding to Zhao Junran, Jun Gu ordered someone to bring Yujue over and said that she was leading a ascetic in the backyard Buddhist temple, entrusting all the affairs of the Zhao family to her as the bride. Memories are vivid in her mind, and her nose is a bit sore. Those past warmth, now it seems, only makes her feel ridiculous. She closed her eyes and strengthened her heart, saying, Suzuki, prepare your knives, pens, and bamboo slips. I want to leave with you. Healy writes very fluently and seamlessly. Shen Yingxia self-deprecatingly said, Ling Lan, your young lady's writing style is average, but she didn't expect it to be so easy to write about Healy. I'm afraid she has some talent. When we leave the Zhao mansion, we won't be hungry anymore. Young lady. Suzuki paused and looked at Shen Yingxia with heartache. Shen Yingxia just smiled, then carefully packed Yujue and the book, and helped Linglan walk out of the courtyard. At the same time, a pink soft sedan carried Lu Yuer into the mansion through the back door. Cute new book, please take good care of it. Looking forward to interactive comments, scattering flowers. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Assistance from Jun Gu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Assistance from Jun Gu. Shen Yingxia walked out of the courtyard with the lily of the valley in her arms, and the doll's voice reappeared. If there is someone to help, we will definitely be able to fulfill our wishes. She had originally planned to go directly to the Linglong garden where Zhao Junran and Lu Yuer were located. Upon hearing this, she quickly turned around and walked towards the Buddhist temple. Did you really think it through? Jun Gu's face remained calm as she fiddled with the Buddhist beads in her hand. Yes, my Shen family has a family motto that they will never live under the same roof as prostitutes. Shen Yingxia lowered her eyebrows and lowered her eyes. I hope you and your aunt will succeed. Fate may come to an end. It's a good thing to be able to break through obsession at a young age. In that case, Aunt Lu, accompany Lady Shen on a trip. Jun Gu knelt in front of the Buddha and ordered. Here. Aunt Lu was ordered to bow. After Shen Yingxia expressed his gratitude, he withdrew from the Buddhist temple together with him. When walking towards Linglong garden, the whole road was covered in bright red silk flowers, so lively. Lu looked at her and sighed, but she didn't say anything in the end. She is an elderly person who has served 3 generations of masters in the mansion. Although she is not very knowledgeable, she knows more about etiquette and law than ordinary people. Carrying a concubine has never been allowed to wear formal red silk. Zhao Junran held the position of Tai Lucheng, which was specifically in charge of ritual and music. He should have strictly adhered to the ritual and music system than others, but this action was extremely absurd. It's hard to say whether Zhao Junran's position can still be preserved without the help of the Shen family if someone with intentions reports it. Nowadays, Shen Yingxia is no longer trapped in love, and seeing these things from an outsider's perspective makes her more clear-headed. The bride has a beautiful appearance, and the lord is so lucky. The servant congratulated loudly. Ha ha ha, reward. Everyone here has a reward. Zhao Junren's proud voice sounded. Lu Ao furrowed her brows, quickened her pace, rushed in first, and lengthened her voice, saying, "NV Jun, here we are." There was a sudden silence in the courtyard. Shen Yingxia stepped into the courtyard and before she could speak, she heard Zhao Junren's tone calmly say, "What are you doing here?" Lu Anti bowed and bowed, "Your Highness is the mistress of the Zhao family. As soon as I enter the mansion, I should come to serve your Highness. Now that your Highness is here, why don't you come and pay her respects?" Although Zhao Junran was unhappy, he did not refute it. Instead, he tacitly agreed to let Lu Yuer bow to Shen Yingxia. Lu Yuer hid behind Zhao Junran, dressed in a formal red wedding dress, with a head of gold, silver, and jade beads. She looked delicate and timid, very lovable. She took 2 steps to the side and gave a slight blessing, saying, "Yuer is bowing to your daughter." Without waiting for Shen Yingxia to speak, she retreated behind Zhao Junran, as if Shen Yingxia was some kind of fierce and evil spirit. Shen Yingxia smiled and said, "Someone, help Lu Yuer change into a dress that matches her concubine identity." Lu Nua gave a glance to the side, and the maid approached. However, Zhao Junran stopped her and said, "It's just a dress. As for Shangang, is it online?" That Lu Yuer truly came out of joy. Her ability to observe words and expressions was quite remarkable, and she immediately shed tears. If outsiders had seen that aggrieved appearance, they might have thought that Shen Yingxia had been teasing her. Zhao Junran felt a heartache when he saw the beauty drop her golden pearl. How could he hold back? "Shen Yingxia, listen to me. This is the Zhao family, not your Shen family. Put away your disgusting face for me. I prepared the wedding dress for Yuer, just because she has my Zhao family heirs in her womb, she can wear the Dehongxi dress. You haven't made any progress since you started, and now you're still jealous of Yuer. Aren't you afraid that I'll abandon you?" Shen Yingxia didn't take up the conversation and said, "Healy," but instead planned to add another spark. She walked slowly forward, stopped 3 steps away from them, and looked around. "Mrs. Lu is pregnant with the Lord's child. How many months have you been?" Lu Yuer blushed and stammered, "It's been 3 months. I heard that there were apricot blossom lanterns hanging outside your yard a few days ago." Shen Yingxia looked disdainfully at Lu Yuer, then gently covered her mouth with a handkerchief. After discovering this news in her previous life, she went to confront Lu Yuer. But Lu Yuer didn't care at all, gave her a contemptuous smile, and rolled down the stone steps. The child in the belly is gone now. After Zhao Junran returned, he learned that Lu Yuer had given birth and was furious. He didn't listen to Shen Yingxia's explanation and directly locked Shen Yingxia in a firewood room. Lu Yuer's pillow blew in the wind, and the next day Shen Yingxia didn't even have a chance to defend herself, so she was taken to a poor village to ponder behind closed doors. When Lu Yuer saw the truth exposed, her face turned red and she screamed, completely devoid of her previous weakness. You're talking nonsense. Don't believe her. Yuer only has you in her heart. We are destined to be together." Zhao Junran had some doubts. He has been well protected since childhood and is not very familiar with the affairs of the streets and alleys. Even Lu Yuer met him when he was arranging a banquet to invite a singer. However, Aunt Lu's face changed greatly and she said something to the maid next to her. The maid quickly ran out of the room. Zhao Junran is innocent and doesn't know what apricot blossom lanterns mean. Lu Ao, this elderly woman, is very clear. If apricot blossom lanterns are hung outside a regular courtyard, it means that the female in the courtyard is a secret prostitute. Background is fictional. Thank you for the baby's recommended ticket and collection. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Planting a Doubtful Seed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Planting a Doubtful Seed. Shen Yingxia's point is over. Because once the seed of doubt is planted, it will eventually take root and sprout. With Lu Yuer's restless and refined nature, this family may not be able to calm down for a whole day. When the time comes, let's see if Zhao Junran, who is used to pretending, will find the third and fourth Jieyu flowers to relieve 1,000 worries when drunk. Just thinking of their flying and jumping appearance, Shen Yingxia felt very happy. My daughter from the Shen family will never be with a lowly woman. I truly pity the deep affection between you two, and I don't want to be the villain who beats the mandarin duck with a stick. If you sign the Healy document today, I will go to the government to transfer the ownership of the document. Let's separate and be lenient, and we will no longer be related. Shen Yingxia walked towards the table and put down Yujue and the book. Zhao Junran originally thought that Shen Yingxia was here to stir up trouble and provoke criticism. Unexpectedly, Shen Yingxia had already written both Li Shu and Li Shu, and it didn't seem like she was joking. Yesterday, I hit my head on a pillar due to the wedding ceremony, but today it seems like I have completely changed. Conspiracy. Absolutely a conspiracy. Zhao Junran disdainfully glanced at her and said, "Stop pretending. What exactly do you want?" The red dress behind Zhao Junran moved. What can I do? Now you've brought everyone back, haven't you? Shen Yingxia straightened her sleeves and suddenly realized, oh my, can it be difficult? You just wanted Lu Yuer, who is on the tip of your heart, to be a lowly concubine and be beaten and scolded. Suzuki spoke out at the right moment, so it's like this, no wonder the Lord. Her words abruptly came to an end. The owner of the red dress has now moved to Zhao Junran's side. I saw her eyes moist, her eyelashes trembling slightly, her teeth lightly biting her red lips, and she said softly, Junran, is this really the case? Aren't you? Aren't you disgusted with my background? Don't believe that wicked woman's instigation, I'll sign now. Zhao Junran held her hand with a sincere expression. Are you serious? I knew it, I knew it. Zhao Lang would never betray me. This day has come so quickly. Zhao Lang, I am so happy. She looked up at Zhao Junran with affection. Standing on the side, Aunt Lu couldn't bear to watch and coughed lightly. The lady already knows about this matter, so don't delay, young master. Once upon a time, she couldn't bear the pretense of these two people. When Lu Yuer saw a man, she acted coquettishly and foolishly, as if she couldn't even say a whole word. Zhao Junran was even more outrageous, spending her dowry money and squandering it outside, portraying the elegant and noble young master who treated money like dirt. Now looking at these two people again, Shen Yingxia almost didn't vomit. After Zhao Junran signed, she left Linglong Garden without looking back. Upon returning from completing the paperwork at the government office, Shen Yingxia heard that a doctor had been hired to see Lu Yuer. Shen Yingxia has no leisure to meddle in these dirty matters, only asking his accompanying servants to tidy up their dowry. In his past life, most of his dowry was spent on Zhao Junran. Later, after being sent to Zhuangzi, the remaining dowry disappeared without a trace. Zhao Junran's salary cannot afford to support the expenses within the household. It was she who applied her dowry repeatedly, allowing Zhao Junran to live a wealthy and leisurely life of raising Lu Yuer in an outer room. No one knows the true situation of the accounts in the mansion better than Shen Yingxia. In this life, without her dowry, just the expenses of tea, rice, oil, salt, and monthly servants would be enough for them to drink a pot. Taking advantage of the fact that it was not yet dark, Shen Yingxia hurriedly left the Zhao family with Linglan and others. It wasn't until she stepped out of the gate of Zhao mansion that Shen Yingxia felt a little more comfortable holding her breath for a long time. "Young lady, are we going back to the Shen family?" Suzuki asked. "Well, let's go back to the Shen family first. My parents are not ruthless people, they will definitely give me a way out." But the young lady, without consulting with the lord and the young lady, left with the young lady Zhao on her own. She was extremely worried and her thoughts were a bit confused. 2 years ago, the youngest daughter of the general's mansion was also living a wonderful life with Prince Healy. "I heard that our young lady, no matter her beauty, talent, or etiquette, is not inferior to others. How could we not live well? Anyway, Linglan must be with the young lady." She also gradually became firm. Yes, in her past life, she was the only one who accompanied Shen Yingxia to punish Shuangzi. At that time, she must have suffered a lot, right? Even though she was bullied, she had no complaints and still did her best to take care of Shen Yingxia lying on the sickbed. Shen Yingxia never thought of letting her go. Shen Yingxia once handed her the body deed and the remaining silver money, but Suzuki kept crying and refused to leave no matter what. "How fortunate to have her by my side." Shen Yingxia looked at Linglan, who was worried about her, and tightly grasped her hand, her voice choking. At this moment, the soft and sticky voice rang out again. "If you know your mistake, you can change it. But with the protection of your parents and siblings, you will come home in good luck." Looking back on today's incident, the process of separation was really smooth, and Shen Yingxia couldn't help but believe 3 parts of this voice. Don't forget to send free recommended tickets to your favorite friends. Thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Picking up a noble person from a haystack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Picking up a noble person from a haystack. As soon as she returned to the Shen family, Shen Yingxia cried out about her recent experiences, constantly saying that she was confused and hurt her parents. After hearing this, Shen's mother scolded angrily, "I never expected that Zhao Junran would be such a person. It's good to come back, child." Shen's father remained silent for a long time before asking, "What are your plans?" Shen Yingxia pondered for a moment before speaking up. "After this experience, my daughter truly regrets her past. But the past is unforgettable, and we still need to live our present life well. Well, if you can imagine it, that's the best. In my daughter's dowry, there is a village in the suburbs with good folk customs and beautiful scenery. I will go there to relax first, and then think carefully about how to plan for the future." Auntie nodded and said, "Although separation is not a big deal, it's inevitable that some people have long tongues and like to stir up trouble. It's good to go out and relax, but can you ask Auntie to accompany you?" Shen Yingxia nestled in his mother's arms and said in a muffled voice, "Mother, when I settle down there, I will definitely write a letter." After resting at home all night, the dowry was not even unloaded from the carriage. The next day, Shen Yingxia drove towards Shuangzi with the guard specially assigned to her by her elder brother. Before leaving, Wan Nua Wain spoke in a relaxed tone, "The weather is sunny and suitable for travel. Doing good deeds will bring blessings." Shen Yingxia firmly remembered these 2 words in her heart, wanting to see if they would come true. After all, this matter is really too bizarre. If it is said, others may not believe it. From Shen Mansion to the outskirts of Shuangzi, it takes a lot of time to walk. But Shen Yingxia couldn't get up in the morning, so she set off later. The sunset set in the west, burning red the clouds on the horizon. The weather at the beginning of summer is not yet hot. At this moment, walking on the open official road, the gentle breeze is so pleasant. Along the way, Shen Yingxia did not encounter anything that could accumulate virtue and do good, so she relaxed. She simply pulled the lily of the valley and jumped off the carriage, scattering. Before taking a few steps, Shen Yingxia heard someone whispering for help behind the grass pile next to the official road. The guards immediately became vigilant and surrounded Shen Yingxia in a circle. A sturdy guard carefully leaned towards the haystack and soon came over to report, "Young lady, there is a person behind the haystack who has suffered serious injuries to his waist, abdomen, and legs." Shen Yingxia asked, "Are you still conscious?" The guard arched his hand and reported, "When I went to check earlier, my face was burning red and I probably didn't have much consciousness." Upon hearing this, Shen Yingxia approached cautiously with her guards. The man is tall and although he cannot see his appearance clearly, he is dressed in brocade and has gorgeous fabrics, and is by no means the son of an ordinary farmer. Saving a person's life is better than building a level 7 pagoda. Shen Yingxia was blessed by heaven for the opportunity to be reborn, and she was very grateful. So even if there is no heartfelt reminder, she will still help this person. So she said to the guard behind her, "Lift this young master onto the carriage, and wait until he returns to the village to invite a doctor." Here. 3 or 2 guards skillfully lifted the people onto the carriage. Shen Yingxia also got on the car. As it got late, they accelerated their pace and finally arrived at Zhuangzi before it was completely dark. Before entering the village, I saw 2 people greeting them. The young man asked loudly, "Who is coming?" "The second wife of the Shen family," replied the leader of the guards, Wei Yi. "Oh my goodness, the young lady has arrived." The gray-haired old man approached excitedly with a smile on his face. "The day before yesterday, the young lady made people say that it's here today. Wang, I've been waiting here for a long time, but I can't see anyone waiting left or right. Seeing the sun setting, I'm worried about Wang. Look, I was just saying that I want A Niu to take the young men from the village along the way to find them. Thank you for liking it." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. There is a young man named A Niu in the village. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. There is a young man named A Niu in the village. Next to the old man stood a muscular young man. I saw him with thick eyebrows and big eyes, and a high and straight nose bridge. He is very tall, dressed in neat coarse cloth, paired with honey-tanned skin, making him look very energetic. The cuffs of the pants are tightly tied with dark cloth strips, and the muscles are well proportioned and stylish, exuding a masculine beauty. Is this the A Niu in the old man's mouth? Shen Yingxia thought to herself. A Niu has never seen such a pretty girl before, as beautiful as the little bit of ink painting. My eyebrows are like distant mountains with dye, my eyes are like peach blossoms with a smile, my hair is like floating clouds, and my skin is like condensed fat. Wearing a red dress, her face was even more delicate than the blooming hibiscus. Shen Yingxia scrutinized without hesitation, making A Niu blush. A Niu felt fortunate in his heart. Fortunately, it was getting dark and no one should be able to see it. The old man's enthusiasm made Shen Yingxia feel a bit uncomfortable for a moment. Lao Wang is worried. We have a safe journey, but we set off late. There is a doctor in the village, and on the way, we encountered an injured person lying on a carriage. Oh my, you're injured. What should we do now? There's no doctor in the village. No, let A Niu and his team take a look. The children in the village are used to falling, and Jin Chuang medicine is available. If the injury is not serious, it can be cured. Wang said and grabbed the young man named A Niu beside him. Let's go, let's quickly settle the person down. After speaking, the old man shouted loudly towards the courtyard, Hey old lady. Come out quickly. The young lady is here. Ah. A voice full of energy came out. An elderly woman with a rosy complexion walked out. The old lady rubbed her hand against her clothes and bowed, saying, the young lady can call the old lady Zhou Nu. The old man's surname is Sun, so he must have forgotten to introduce her as a gift. Please forgive me, young lady. As villagers, it is inevitable that we do not have the servants in the mansion who are well behaved in terms of etiquette. It's okay, but I feel very warm and friendly. Did Mrs. Zhou work as a clerk in the mansion when she was young? Shen Yingxia expressed understanding. This old woman, although tall and slightly overweight, has beautiful facial features and should have been a delicate beauty when she was young. The young lady's expectations are good. The old lady used to work under the young lady's command, but later got married and left the mansion at the age of, insert year. The young lady has been tired all the way, hasn't she? The house has been cleaned up, and the old lady took the young lady over to rest. Zhou Nuo is thoughtful and polite, which is very different from the rough old lady who was born and raised in the wilderness of Zhuangtou. Well, thank you. Shen Yingxia nodded and gestured. Old lady, the young lady picked up someone on the road and that person is injured. Wang frowned nervously. The old woman also wore a stern expression and became serious, seriously. Their formidable appearance made Shen Yingxia feel a bit strange. The old woman looked at Shen Yingxia's face and explained, this afternoon, the merchant said that there seemed to be a fight happening not far from Zhuangzi. If the master is not here, we cannot make decisions privately. When such a situation occurs, we usually stay indoors. How about this? Arrange people in the guest room. Let's handle it briefly today, and then invite a doctor tomorrow. Shen Yingxia felt from the bottom of her heart that the couple was very cautious in their actions. Here. The old woman gave 2 orders to the old man behind her, and then took Shen Yingxia and his group to settle down. After entering the house, Aunt Zhou commanded the servants to bring in several boxes of Shen Yingxia's luggage. Prepare some good wine and vegetables to send to everyone. Everyone has worked hard today. I and Lily of the Valley ate a lot of dim sum on the way, so we don't need to send them. Shen Yingxia ordered. Suzuki handed a broken silver to Aunt Zhou and said with a smile, from now on, Aunt Zhou will take more care of it. You're welcome. The old lady must do her best and take good care of the young lady. Aunt Zhou smiled happily and then left the room. Zhou's etiquette is quite comprehensive, said Shen Yingxia. Yes, young lady. I heard from the old man that when Zhou was young, she was a maid brought by the female gentleman from her mother's house. When she got older, she married the housekeeper's son and then went to the manor. Both husband and wife are children from home and have always been honest and upright. Suzuki answered as she packed her luggage. Shen Yingxia held her chin and looked at the flickering flames on the table, lost in thought. Zhou Nuo is a quick worker who tidies up the house very well in advance. Suzuki and the other 2 maids just need to tidy up the luggage they bring. Seeing that she had almost finished tidying up, Shen Yingxia washed her face, scattered her hair, tied the ends of her hair with red headbands, and changed into a loose dress. At this moment, Aunt Zhou came to report that the injured person was probably suffering from a warm illness and the high fever did not subside. Upon hearing this, Shen Yingxia quickly walked towards the guest room wearing wooden clogs. As expected, Yin appeared again. Lucky people have their own heavenly signs. Upon hearing these words, Shen Yingxia's suspended heart relaxed a lot. I made a minor repair. Thank you, my dear friends, for your recommended tickets. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. A Local Method. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. A Local Method. The room was brightly lit, and Sun was in a hurry to walk around. A Niu and Wei Yi were talking about something. The injured person was lying in bed, their clothes that had been soaked in blood had been changed off, and their face had been cleaned up. Shen Yingxia finally saw this person's appearance clearly. Red phoenix eyes, slanted into the temples, eagle-hooked nose and thin lips. Perhaps due to his current illness, his flushed cheeks and white and cracked lips have weakened the sharpness of his facial features. How is the situation? Shen Yingxia asked. A Niu shook his head and said, the situation is not good, young master is getting hot. Is there any way to reduce fever? It is now the beginning of summer, and the weather is getting hotter day by day. There is no ice cellar in the village, so there is no ice to find. Zhou thought for a moment and said, in the past, when I was serving in the mansion, if someone got a fever, the doctor would ask us to wipe the patient's body with a damp cloth to help them reduce the fever. I have tried it a few times before and it really works. Then give it a try, let's think of other ways. After speaking, Shen Yingxia walked outside the house. Young lady, I have a rough way. A Niu's eyes were sparkling. Let's talk about it, Shen Yingxia encouraged and looked at A Niu. A Niu's face turned red and said, although the knife wound on this young master's waist looks scary, the wound is not deep and has already been coated with gold wound medicine. The injury on his leg is quite serious, and the bones inside are probably broken. Before, there was a scholar from the neighboring village who went up the mountain to pick up firewood and broke his leg. He couldn't afford to hire a doctor in the city, so he asked his brother to catch a snake on the mountain, break its bone, and let it go. Whatever herb the snake eats, his brother will pick it back. I didn't expect it to be eaten well. Wei Yi, what do you think? Shen Yingxia's eyes lit up as she listened. She had nothing to do before, and she had seen similar things in her book. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can give it a try. As guards, if we are attacked and injured in the wild, besides common herbs, we will also look at what the animals in this area eat. It is said that this is because animals have an instinct for self-rescue after being injured, and we can judge whether this herb is beneficial to our own injuries based solely on its odor and other characteristics. Shen Yingxia glanced at the sky and felt worried. Let's give it a try first. However, looking at the sky, it seems like it's going to rain, and there may be danger when going up the mountain at this time. A Niu scratched his head and smiled awkwardly, don't worry, young lady. We've been used to it since childhood and are very familiar with every grass and tree on the mountain. The doll reminded softly, although there may be some twists and turns, it can pass smoothly. Then let Wei Yi send a few people along with you to take care of each other. Shen Yingxia still felt a little uneasy. Here. Wei Yi took orders. After a few people left, Aunt Zhou approached Shen Yingxia and took out a string of jade pendants from her arms, saying they were worn by the young master on the bed. This piece of jade has a special shape, a flat body, and a work shape, with a small spoon carved on the top. Shen Yingxia scrutinized for a while and concluded that this was the jade pendant of the jade minister, a rare type of jade ornament. In other words, this injured person must be an extremely valuable person. Shen Yingxia whispered to Aunt Zhou, this matter must not be made public. Don't let anyone else get close to you, be careful to serve you. By the way, make some lamb baked cakes and stew a large pot of hot lamb soup. When they come back, they will have a delicious drink to ward off the cold. Zhou nodded repeatedly and hurriedly went to prepare. The sky was so dark that no stars could be seen, and thick clouds pressed down like velvet cloth on top of my head. The air was hot and dry, and now there was not even a trace of wind left. Shen Yingxia felt a tightness in her chest and her right eye kept twitching. It seems that tonight is destined to be sleepless. A muffled thunder exploded and heavy rain poured down. Shen Yingxia stood in front of the door, looking out, her heart wrenching even tighter. Shouldn't there be anything wrong, right? An hour passed, and the rain showed no signs of decreasing. Aunt Zhou had just finished wiping the injured person's body and looked outside, feeling a bit worried. My forehead is not that hot anymore, maybe it's better. Aren't they back yet, A Niu? A few torches lit up at the entrance, and someone came back. Shen Yingxia sent someone to report the situation. Wei San reported, as soon as we reached the foot of the mountain, it started raining. A Niu said the weather was bad and he was afraid he wouldn't be able to take care of us. So he asked me, Wei Lu, and the 3 young men from the farm to come back first. Upon hearing these words, Shen Yingxia suddenly became anxious. The matter of saving someone was originally proposed by her, but now she is afraid that it will implicate others and cause them to lose their lives. What should we do? Thank you, my dear friends, for liking it. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Prince Xiaoyao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Prince Xiaoyao. She paced back and forth in the room, pondering on a solution. Wang, how many other gentlemen in the manor are familiar with the situation on the mountain? Sun Wang roughly calculated and said, there should still be 14 or 15 people. Shen Yingxia turned to ask Wei San again, how many people are left in the escort team? There are 11 more people, Wei San replied. How high is the mountain? Wang replied, you can climb to the top on foot with just one stick of incense. Zhou Nuo looked at Shen Yingxia with a serious expression and comforted, A Niu and the others are looking for medicine. It shouldn't take so long. Young lady, please rest assured and wait a little longer. Time passes by minute by second. The injured person's high fever does not subside, and wiping themselves with water this time is no longer effective. Try drinking. Shen Yingxia suddenly remembered how her hands and feet would become cold after drinking. Although I don't know how the effect will be, I can only be a dead horse doctor now. This time, Shen Yingxia did not go out, but observed the situation through the screen. Young lady, it seems like it's getting a little cold. Zhou said in surprise. This is good, Shen Yingxia repeated meaninglessly, as if doing so would reduce her anxiety. The rain is falling rapidly and stopping quickly. Not long after, the moon came out, illuminating the courtyard like daylight. Shen Yingxia lifted her skirt and walked to the entrance of Zhuangzi, looking into the distance. There seemed to be a bright light in the distance, and Shen Yingxia was afraid of seeing it wrong. She called out to Suzuki and said, Suzuki, is that a torch flickering in the distance? Let me take a look. Suzuki tiptoed and looked over, then exclaimed excitedly, it's a firelight. Young lady, they're back. A Niu and others were all disheveled, their clothes soaked through, and their pants covered in mud, but fortunately no one was injured. After handing the basket to Aunt Zhou, he grinned brightly at Shen Yingxia with big white teeth, like a loyal dog wagging its tail to be praised by its owner. In his past life, Shen Yingxia only had feelings for Zhao Junran. However, among them, she was always the only one rushing to perform in front of Zhao Junran, and Zhao Junran always treated her with indifference. Suddenly seeing A Niu show her enthusiasm so bluntly to her was enough to confuse her. Feeling at a loss, she snatched the basket from Aunt Zhou's hand and ran towards the guest room, with a hint of fleeing in despair. Zhou glanced at their interaction, sighed, and then took clean clothes and cloth towels, leading them to the gatehouse to change clothes. Sun Wang ran to the firewood shed to find firewood charcoal and baked clothes for them. Suzuki also went to serve lamb soup and bake cakes for the guards and young men to eat. The whole room was so busy that no one paid attention to Shen Yingxia's movements. When she stood in front of the guest room carrying a basket, she remembered the 4 words, men and women are different. Considering this person's special identity, besides Aunt Zhou, she really couldn't let anyone get close, so Shen Yingxia had to grit her teeth and go in. Because she had never dealt with any medicinal herbs before, Shen Yingxia was afraid of making mistakes, so she set aside her backpack and came to the bed, intending to first check on the condition of the injured person. The air was filled with a faint smell of blood, and the person's face turned pale, lying motionless on the bed. He frowned, tightly closed his eyes, and spoke hoarsely. Because the voice was too low, Shen Yingxia had to bend down and bring her ears closer to hear clearly. It turned out that he was asking for water. Shen Yingxia scooped a bowl of water from the wooden spoon on the table. For the convenience of feeding water, she sat next to the bed, pressed the tea bowl against his lower lip, and slightly raised the bottom of the bowl. As soon as the water touched his lips, he took a big sip. Although his consciousness seems to be not clear yet, his condition has improved significantly compared to before. The water in the bowl quickly bottomed out. When Shen Yingxia got up, the person on the bed suddenly opened their eyes. He lifted his left hand and grabbed towards Shen Yingxia. Shen Yingxia immediately turned around to avoid. His body had already lost its strength, and he only pulled off the red headband at the end of Shen Yingxia's hair and grabbed it in his hand. In an instant, there seemed to be incredibly brilliant fireworks blooming in his mind. The woman in front of her has a beautiful face, standing tall and graceful, with a slender waist and limbs that cannot be easily grasped. As she spun, her dark hair suddenly spread, and a faint fragrance rushed from her hair tips towards his nose. She is like the orchid dancing in the wind in a rarely visited valley, free and agile. He grew up in a pile of cosmetics since childhood, so why did he fall in love at first sight? It was just a deceitful lie in a playbook. But it wasn't until he saw her at this moment that he realized he was completely wrong. It turned out that this was just a feeling of excitement. He seemed to have seen her before, but he couldn't remember who this little girl was. He couldn't help but ask, "Just now you were abrupt. What is the name of the young lady?" Before asking someone their name, at least they should report their own name, shouldn't they? Shen Yingxia was frightened by his previous action and looked at him with great caution. Although he is a woman, he is not lightly injured. If he really takes action, he may not have a chance of winning. Besides, it's all our own people outside. Shen Yingxia silently and carefully evaluated. He looked at the woman in front of him with a look that looked like a cat with fur blown out. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise, and he playfully thought to himself, "I'm getting off the horse, CE. My family is in business. As you can see, he's a wealthy and handsome young man. Ma si. My ability to talk nonsense is quite impressive. The current royal surname is Sima, if reversed, it is Sima E. Is he the 13 younger brothers of the current emperor of the Dao dynasty, Sima E, who was conferred the title of Prince Xiaoyao? Everything makes sense." In an instant, Shen Yingxia figured out the key to it. Since he doesn't want to expose his identity, Shen Yingxia wouldn't be foolish enough to directly expose it. "I am the daughter of the Shen family, Xing'er." With his identity and abilities, it was easy to investigate her, so she decided to be more honest. "The second wife of the Shen family. I'll just say, how come you're so familiar?" "Ha ha ha, I see. We finally met." Shen Yingxia didn't know what he was thinking, only saw him say a few confusing words on his own, and then burst into laughter. Suddenly, his laughter came to an abrupt end and his body curled up. Perhaps he laughed too hard and pulled the wound on his waist and abdomen. "You deserve it." Shen Yingxia was very angry and bit her silver teeth until they creaked. Thank you for reading Bishin, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Old Immortal is a prominent bag. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Old Immortal is a prominent bag. Coincidentally, Aunt Zhou led A Niu into the guest room. Shen Yingxia took a long breath, her tense muscles suddenly relaxed, and there was a hint of soreness and fatigue. "You're not injured, are you?" Shen Yingxia asked A Niu with concern. A Niu blushed again and quickly waved his hand, saying, No, young lady. I don't know how to handle the herbs you brought back, so I left them there." Shen Yingxia pointed to the basket on the table. Zhou Lao pulled out the medicine pestle and medicine jar from somewhere and said with a smile, "The young lady is a noble person. She has never done such rough work before. Let the old lady come." "Well, the young lady is tired from the boat and car today. Let's go back and rest quickly. There's me and Aunt Zhou watching here, nothing will happen." A Niu patted his chest and promised. "Okay, if there's anything wrong at night, you can send someone to find Suzuki. Suzuki, let Wei Yi send 2 people to protect the one inside later." Shen Yingxia explained as she walked out. "So worried about me?" Sima Yi, lying in bed, said with a wicked smile, "Then don't leave." Shen Yingxia didn't find him greasy yet, and beside him, A Niu's body visibly stiffened. Shen Yingxia was extremely tired and just wanted to quickly lie down on the bed and have a good sleep. But behind them, Sima Yi had excellent eyesight and keenly sensed A Niu's reaction. Sima Yi snorted, somewhat disdainful. At this moment, he had a serious expression on his face, as if he had changed someone compared to his previous performance. A Niu got up early and rushed to the carriage to invite a doctor. He returned with the doctor before noon. After examining, the doctor said that they had treated the wound very well and that it had not worsened. Then, they brought A Niu back to the clinic to collect medicine. Sima Yi's spirit is obviously good, and he also has the strength to complain about eating too rough. Shen Yingxia was too lazy to pay attention to him and turned around to go out. I happened to meet Aunt Zhou. She ran excitedly with a happy expression on her face and shouted, "Young lady, the old fairy is here." The old immortal easily refused to leave the mountain, but today he voluntarily came to Shen family village to ask for water to drink. How can Mrs. Zhou not be excited? As soon as she saw Shen Yingxia, Aunt Zhou stopped and pointed to the gatekeeper. After gasping for breath for a while, she opened her mouth and said, "This old immortal is so spiritual. She is famous in all the towns and villages. Young lady, hurry up and let the old immortal calculate. I knew that our young lady is lucky." Ha ha ha. Shen Yingxia couldn't help but become curious about the old immortal when she saw Zhou Nuo's loss of composure for the first time. She didn't believe these things before, but the recent incidents couldn't help her not believe them. When she woke up from her rebirth, the sweet and soft baby sound always appeared when she made decisions, and it always came true. Although she found this matter very strange, she even encountered rebirth and it seemed reasonable to obtain divine powers. Please bring the old immortal to the main house, Shen Yingxia instructed. The young lady is unaware that it was the old immortal who insisted on waiting for you at the gatehouse. Oh. Shen Yingxia squinted her eyes. Walking to the gatehouse, an old man with white beard and hair walked out with a cane, his bright red robe fluttering. Surprisingly, his eyebrows were like two fish whiskers, shoulder length, swaying with the wind, appearing very elegant. The old man straightened his back and walked with a slow but steady pace, exuding a fairy-like demeanor. As soon as he saw Shen Yingxia, the old man circled around her twice. His gaze was very sharp, making Shen Yingxia feel uneasy all over. "Old immortal, come today. What can I do for you?" Shen Yingxia looked at the old man. As she approached, she realized that the old man's pupils were actually golden. The old man stroked his beard and said, "Madam Shen, we had a connection in our past life. In this life, we need to use the friendship between master and disciple to fulfill it." The villagers around, who were watching the excitement, suddenly felt like they had been pressed the still button, and even the falling leaves remained motionless in the air. How did he know about his rebirth? Except for their voices, all other voices disappeared. Shen Yingxia looked shocked, somewhat frightened by the old immortal's magic. When she saw the familiar golden pupils, she suddenly remembered. New chapter, end of this chapter. Chapter 9. Shocking. The true body of the old immortal turned out to be. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Shocking. The true body of the old immortal turned out to be in her past life. While being taken to the dilapidated village of the Zhao family, she passed by a vast expanse of water and saved a red koi with golden eyes. At that time, the koi was fighting against the white feathered eagle, and the scene was extremely spectacular. The servants around were so frightened by the sight in front of them that they collapsed on the ground, and Suzuki even fainted. The body of the red koi is as thick as an adult's thighs. The whole body is bright red, with only a white pattern on the top of the head, resembling a white peony in shape. A body full of scales reflecting cold light, the fish's tail is flexible and powerful, with extremely strong explosive power. It hits the water surface with a snap and creates a wave of water. The white feathered eagle should not be underestimated, with a tall and upright posture, broad and strong wings. When it flapped its wings, it stirred up gusts of strong winds. They were originally evenly matched in the battle, but when the koi jumped out of the water with its tail wagging and attacked, they were caught by the white feather eagle. The white-feathered eagle let out a cry and dived down. The extremely sharp eagle claws fiercely grazed into the skin and flesh of the koi. Seeing the koi about to lose, Shen Yingxia looked at the struggling koi and suddenly thought of her own helplessness. She had the courage to dig out the net used for hunting birds from the carriage, ran forward, and threw it at the white feather eagle. This kind of net is very large, with some small stones hanging around it, making it a good tool for hunting birds in the countryside. Shen Yingxia's strength is small and she doesn't throw high enough, but her victory lies in her accuracy. A small stone with a corner can touch the wings of a white-feathered eagle. In panic, the white-feather eagle loosened its claws. With a snap, the koi fell back into the lake. At this moment, the white-feathered eagle also reacted and roared towards Shen Yingxia, wanting revenge. But I don't know where a large group of magpies flew out, chirping and enveloping Shen Yingxia tightly. The white-feathered eagle, who claims to be the top fighter in the air, has always been a lone ranger. Faced with group warfare and highly intelligent revenge demons like magpies, it has to give up and consider itself unlucky. The white-feathered eagle knew that it was outnumbered, flapping its wings and sliding rapidly. The magpie whizzed back to the forest and disappeared. Shen Yingxia was so scared that she collapsed on the ground and rested for a while before recovering. Koi fish swim back and forth in the lake, occasionally jumping out of the water. Shen Yingxia felt that this was the intention of letting her go. Despite being only 2 steps away, she walked with great difficulty. Her legs kept fighting, and she stumbled to the lake before sitting on the ground. The koi saw her coming over, approached, jumped up, then puffed up its gills and spat at her. Shen Yingxia was extremely shocked. Even if she didn't appreciate her life-saving kindness, how could she still curse? The koi fish fell back into the lake, while the old god swam back and forth on the ground. 2 slender fish whiskers floated in the water. Watching his yawning appearance, Shen Yingxia finally understood Bai Yueying's feelings. Help the wrong side. Is there still time to regret now? That koi seemed to have seen through what she was thinking, and it got angry. It wanted to jump up and spit at her again. Shen Yingxia retreated repeatedly. The koi glanced at the distance before giving up, and then slowly swam towards the distance. Shen Yingxia opened her mouth wide in shock and said, "Are you the bad guy who spat at me? How do you speak?" The old immortal looked displeased, his cheeks bulging as if he was gathering strength and drooling again. Shen Yingxia quickly stepped back, raised her sleeve to cover it, and only stole a glance at the old immortal from the side. The old immortal took a deep breath, as if trying his best to restrain his anger, and slowly explained. "I am a 1,000-year-old koi, and it would be a good thing to celebrate for 3 years if I could get my saliva on it. Otherwise, who do you think gave you this adventure? Isn't it all thanks to me?" He became proud and stroked his beard, as if waiting for praise. Shen Yingxia was a bit speechless. The way the koi bestowed blessings was truly unique. If you encounter someone with a shorter temper and more agile skills, at that time he was so high and low that he was roasted and eaten by others. Without salt, he would already be considered kind. As soon as she thought about it, the old immortal interrupted, "Ahem, the matter of the past is over, don't persist." Shen Yingxia nodded and wanted to ask about the recent constant sound of milk dolls. The old immortal seemed to see through Shen Yingxia's thoughts and said, "Have you ever heard of causality? Buddhism has just been introduced to Dao, and not many people believe in Buddhism, but Shen Yingxia's aunt is one who believes in Buddhism, so she is aware of it." Thank you for Bowsy's recommended ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. There is a cycle of causality. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. There is a cycle of causality. What kind of cause, what kind of fruit, good and evil will eventually have a retribution. The sound you hear is emitted by the koi doll. It stores a strand of divine soul in your body for nurturing, and in return, you will receive good luck and blessings. You can understand it as a kind of compensation from the heavenly way to you. But the mystery in this is not something that ordinary people can understand. So, you still need to cover it up. The old immortal shook his left sleeve, shook out an oily turtle shell, and took out a roll of bamboo slips from the side cloth bag, handing them to Shen Yingxia. After Shen Yingxia dumbfounded, the old immortal untied the money bag from his waist and held it to his ear. He shook the money bag and heard the copper coins clattering before handing it to Shen Yingxia. The old immortal had an enigmatic expression on his face and whispered, "This copper plate is not suitable for flowers. The usage method is recorded in the bamboo slips. From today on, you will be the personal disciple of my food Sanren." Shen Yingxia nodded and wanted to ask something more. He swung his wide sleeves and turned around, sighing, "There must be a way for the car to reach the mountain, and the boat will naturally go straight to the bridge. Life is short, but it's only for a moment. You should be carefree and happy, don't be trapped by demons. Little disciple." After speaking, he left with great strides. Clothes are like the wind, and in the blink of an eye, there is no trace left, only a loud long whistle. Shen Yingxia looked into the distance with a complex expression, lost in thought. Isn't it that ordinary people can't understand? Isn't it necessary to cover it up? Why do we have to let everyone know in public that she has been adopted as a disciple by the old immortal? She couldn't help but stroke her forehead and sigh. Sigh. This cheap master is really a conspicuous bag. The people who have been stunned all along are the ones who have taken action. Zhou's legs trembled, and she suddenly fell to the ground, kneeling and bowing in the direction of Food Sanren's departure. She kept saying, "The old immortal has appeared. The old immortal has appeared." With Aunt Zhou leading the way, there were many people kneeling around and tears streaming down. Although this is just a corner of the countryside, the behavior of these villagers shows how much people respect Wu Zhu. Shen Yingxia led Linglan into the room and asked her if she had heard or seen anything just now. Suzuki has always been timid, and her excited blush on her face has not faded. It seems that she has been frightened quite a bit. After finishing a bowl of cold soup, she finally regained her senses. After the old immortal said that he had a master-disciple relationship with the young lady, I felt like I was frozen, unable to move, with a white expanse in front of me and no sound in my ears. When I woke up again, the old immortal disappeared. It was really scary. "Young lady, what did the old immortal do to you?" "I didn't have it, I only taught me divination techniques." Shen Yingxia didn't say much and sipped her tea with a bowl. "Previously in the capital, I heard that the Grand Witch in front of your majesty had excellent magic skills. Now it seems that the old immortal's divine powers are also very powerful. The young lady has now become the biological disciple of the old immortal. Isn't that like the witches under the Grand Witch?" Suzuki said excitedly. Shen Yingxia finally managed to escape from the tiger's den. How could she drill into the dragon pool and make a string puppet? "The sky and earth are so vast, do you want to accompany me to look around?" Shen Yingxia looked out the window at the blue sky, longing for it. "Aha, wherever the young lady goes, Suzuki will go." Today's event has attracted many viewers, and the fact that she was taken as an apprentice by Food Sanren cannot be concealed. Going forward, one needs to be more cautious. The book slips given by Food Sanren need to be carefully read at some time to avoid missing any information when needed. Guest rooms. "Master, that old immortal was really powerful just now. I was shocked and lost consciousness," a masked dark guard reported to Sima Yi. Sima Yi's eyes were sharp as he said, "Did Food Sanren really say he took Shen Yingxia as his disciple?" "Yes. It seems that this little girl has an unlimited future. By the way, the doctor who came today is very strict and not bad. Remember to send the reward when you go back." The dark guard arched his hand and said, "All right. Does the master really want to recuperate here?" Although the doctors are his own, they only take care of village women on a daily basis, so they are definitely not as meticulous as the doctors in the royal palace who directly take care of him. I am worried that my humble position may delay the master's injury. It's okay, you guys will come over tonight to re-medicate and bandage me. Besides, that little girl's identity is not the same now. If we can meet at Weisher, it's better to speak up if we have something to ask for in the future. As they spoke, there seemed to be footsteps coming from the corridor. The figure of the dark guard moved and flipped out of the window, silently and without a trace. It turned out that Aunt Zhou had brought the soup and medicine. Sima Yi immediately changed his carefree expression and pretended to unintentionally glance at the door several times. After realizing that only Lady Zhou had actually entered, he reluctantly asked, "Where is your young lady?" "The young lady is resting." Now, when Shen Yingxia was mentioned again, Aunt Zhou's expression not only showed respect but also a hint of admiration. Sima Yi pouted, feeling somewhat disappointed. "Thank you for liking it. I will try my best to code it." End of this chapter.